about the timeless wisdom hidden in plain sight. Henry David Thoreau, a philosopher, naturalist, and transcendentalist, left us a treasure trove of thoughts that often go unnoticed. In this video, we'll uncover undiscovered gems, Thoreau's quotes and life lessons that can truly reshape the way we live and think. These aren't just words, they're tools for a purposeful life. Trust me, this video is well worth your time. Let's begin. Success usually comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. An early morning walk is a blessing for the whole day. There are 1,000 hacking at the branches of evil to one who is striking at the root. There is no remedy for love, but to love more. Rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. Pursue some path, however narrow and crooked, in which you can walk with love and reverence. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I say, beware of all enterprises that require new clothes, and not rather a new wearer of clothes. Our truest life is when we are in dreams awake. It is not enough to be busy, so are the ants. The question is, what are we busy about? Heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads. Not until we are lost do we begin to understand ourselves. I would rather sit on a pumpkin and have it all to myself than be crowded on a velvet cushion. The smallest seed of faith is better than the largest fruit of happiness. Disobedience is the true foundation of liberty. The obedient must be slaves. Goodness is the only investment that never fails. Make the most of your regrets. Never smother your sorrow, but tend and cherish it till it comes to have a separate and integral interest. To regret deeply is to live afresh. Nature is full of genius, full of the divinity, so that not a snowflake escapes its fashioning hand. Many men go fishing all of their lives, without knowing that it is not fish they are after. Things do not change, we change. You must live in the present, launch yourself on every wave, find your eternity in each moment. None are so old as those who have outlived enthusiasm. If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured or far away. It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. This world is but a canvas to our imagination. If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. Never look back, unless you are planning to go that way. Thank God men cannot fly, and lay waste the sky as well as the earth. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life. If the machine of government is of such a nature that it requires you to be the agent of injustice to another, then, I say, break the law. The man who goes alone can start today, but he who travels with another must wait till that other is ready. The most I can do for my friend is simply be his friend. A man is rich in proportion to the number of things he can afford to let alone. Be not simply good, be good for something. That man is rich, whose pleasures are the cheapest. Do what you love. Know your own bone. Gnaw at it. Bury it. Unearth it. And gnaw it still. The language of friendship is not words, but meanings. Any fool can make a rule, and any fool will mind it. The lawyer's truth is not truth, but consistency, or a consistent expediency. If you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now put the foundations under them. When I hear music, I fear no danger. I am invulnerable. I see no foe. I am related to the earliest times and to the latest. Live your beliefs, and you can turn the world around. To affect the quality of the day, that is the highest of arts. Truths and roses have thorns about them. It takes two to speak the truth, one to speak and another to hear. Friends, they cherish one another's hopes. They are kind to one another's dreams. I have always been regretting that I was not as wise as the day I was born. The perception of beauty is a moral test. What is once well done is done forever. The greatest compliment that was ever paid me was when one asked me what I thought and attended to my answer. The squirrel that you kill in jest dies in earnest. True friendship can afford true knowledge. It does not depend on darkness and ignorance. Every creature is better alive than dead, men and moose and pine trees, and he who understands it aright will rather preserve its life than destroy it. Dreams are the touchstones of our character. I had 3 chairs in my house, one for solitude, 2 for friendship, 3 for society. There is no value in life except what you choose to place upon it, and no happiness in any place except what you bring to it yourself. Under a government which imprisons any unjustly, the true place for a just man is also a prison. It is only when we forget all our learning that we begin to know. What is called genius is the abundance of life and health. Through our own recovered innocence, we discern the innocence of our neighbors. We are always paid for our suspicion by finding what we suspect. Aim above morality. Be not simply good, be good for something. The savage in man is never quite eradicated. Money is not required to buy one necessity of the soul. It is better to have your head in the clouds and know where you are than to breathe the clearer atmosphere below them and think that you are in paradise. As you simplify your life, the laws of the universe will be simpler. Solitude will not be solitude. Poverty will not be poverty, nor weakness. We must walk consciously, only part way toward our goal, and then leap in the dark to our success. What is the use of a house if you haven't got a tolerable planet to put it on? The finest workers in stone are not copper or steel tools, but the gentle touches of air and water, working at their leisure with a liberal allowance of time. Do not hire a man who does your work for money, but him who does it for love of it. Nothing makes the earth seem so spacious as to have friends at a distance. They make the latitudes and longitudes. It is what a man thinks of himself that really determines his fate. That government is best which governs least. If misery loves company, misery has company enough. The youth gets together his materials to build a bridge to the moon, or perchance a palace or temple on the earth, and at length the middle-aged man concludes to build a woodshed with them. Justice is sweet and musical, but injustice is harsh and discordant. Live your life, do your work, then take your hat. As in geology, so in social institutions, we may discover the causes of all past changes in the present invariable order of society. Men have become the tools of their tools. A man cannot be said to succeed in this life who does not satisfy one friend. Every generation laughs at the old fashions, but follows religiously the new. Time is but the stream I go a-fishing in. All men are children, and of one family. The same tale sends them all to bed, and wakes them in the morning. Before printing was discovered, a century was equal to 1,000 years. The only obligation, which I have a right to assume, is to do at any time what I think right. Men are born to succeed, not to fail. The universe is wider than our views of it. Faith never makes a confession. If a man walks in the woods for love of them half of each day, he is in danger of being regarded as a loafer. But if he spends his days as a speculator, shearing off those woods and making the earth bald before her time, he is deemed an industrious and enterprising citizen. Every man casts a shadow, not his body only, but his imperfectly mingled spirit. This is his grief. Let him turn which way he will. It falls opposite to the sun, short at noon, long at eve. Did you never see it? It is never too late to give up our prejudices. If we will be quiet and ready enough, we shall find compensation in every disappointment. We are all sculptors and painters, and our material is our own flesh and blood and bones. Any nobleness begins at once to refine a man's features, any meanness or sensuality to imbrute them. Alas, how little does the memory of these human inhabitants enhance the beauty of the landscape. Where there is an observatory and a telescope, we expect that any eyes will see new worlds at once. The law will never make a man free. It is men who have got to make the law free. It is a characteristic of wisdom not to do desperate things. We are not what we are, nor do we treat or esteem each other for such, but for what we are capable of being. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life. Books are the treasured wealth of the world and the fit inheritance of generations and nations. In wildness is the preservation of the world. It is best to avoid the beginnings of evil. Generally speaking, a howling wilderness does not howl. It is the imagination of the traveler that does the howling. Do not trouble yourself much to get new things, whether clothes or friends. Sell your clothes and keep your thoughts. There are certain pursuits which, if not wholly poetic and true, do at least suggest a nobler and finer relation to nature than we know. The keeping of bees, for instance. There is no more fatal blunderer than he who consumes the greater part of his life getting his living. In the long run, men hit only what they aim at. Therefore, they had better aim at something high. In human intercourse, the tragedy begins, not when there is misunderstanding about words, but when silence is not understood. In reality, women are not all the same, and relationships are the responsibility of both members, not just the female. To a philosopher, all news, as it is called, is gossip, and they who edit and read it are old women over their tea. There is no odor so bad as that which arises from goodness tainted. What is human warfare but just this, an effort to make the laws of God and nature take sides with one party? How can any man be weak who dares to be at all? After the first blush of sin comes its indifference. To have done anything just for money is to have been truly idle. Most of the luxuries and many of the so-called comforts of life are not only not indispensable, but positive hindrances to the elevation of mankind. We are for the most part more lonely when we go abroad among men than when we stay in our chambers. A man thinking or working is always alone. Let him be where he will. Thaw, with her gentle persuasion, is more powerful than Thor with his hammer. The one melts, the other breaks into pieces. Do not be too moral. You may cheat yourself out of much life, so those whom we can love, we can hate. To others, we are indifferent. If I seem to boast more than is becoming, my excuse is that I brag for humanity rather than for myself. If you would convince a man that he does wrong, do right. Men will believe what they see. Do what nobody else can do for you. Omit to do anything else. A man's interest in a single bluebird is worth more than a complete but dry list of the fauna and flora of a town. All this worldly wisdom was once the unamiable heresy of some wise man. How could youths better learn to live than by at once trying the experiment of living? Faith keeps many doubts in her pay. If I could not doubt, I should not believe. Great men, unknown to their generation, have their fame among the great who have preceded them, and all true worldly fame subsides from their high estimate beyond the stars. In my afternoon walk, I would fain forget all my morning occupations and my obligations to society. Front yards are not made to walk in, but at most through, and you could go in the back way. No face, which we can give to a matter, will stead us so well at last as the truth. This alone wears well. What old people say you cannot do, you try and find that you can. Old deeds for old people, and new deeds for new. How vain it is to sit down to write when you have not stood up to live. If you can speak what you will never hear, if you can write what you will never read, you have done rare things. It is usually the imagination that is wounded first, rather than the heart, it being much more sensitive. I think that there is nothing, not even crime, more opposed to poetry, to philosophy, to life itself than this incessant business.
It is an interesting question, how far men would retain their relative rank if they were divested of their clothes. Read the best books first, or you may not have a chance to read them at all. The rarest quality in an epitaph is truth. It is the greatest of all advantages to enjoy no advantage at all. It is not part of a true culture to tame tigers, any more than it is to make sheep ferocious. We shall see but a little way if we require to understand what we see. It appears to be a law that you cannot have a deep sympathy with both man and nature. Some are reputed sick, and some are not. It often happens that the sicker man is the nurse to the sounder. An unclean person is universally a slothful one. I have found that no exertion of the legs can bring two minds much nearer to one another. Books are to be distinguished by the grandeur of their topics, even more than by the manner in which they are treated. I found that hollow, which even I had relied on for solid. I put a piece of paper under my pillow, and when I could not sleep, I wrote in the dark. Ignorance and bungling with love are better than wisdom and skill without. Only he is successful in his business who makes that pursuit which affords him the highest pleasure sustain him. Only that day dawns to which we are awake. Books can only reveal us to ourselves, and as often as they do us this service, we lay them aside. Nothing goes by luck in composition. It allows of no tricks. The best you can write will be the best you are. If a man constantly aspires, is he not elevated? Night is certainly more novel and less profane than day. There is danger that we lose sight of what our friend is absolutely, while considering what she is to us alone. There is more of good nature than of good sense at the bottom of most marriages.